So, you like sedans? Too bad. Over the past few decades, the automotive market has made an undeniable shift to their lifted brethren, these so-called sport utility vehicles. By the year 2023, we'll be expected to choose from nearly 100 different mainstream SUV models, as the segment floods the industry like a wave of locusts sent from an ancient deity. Sales have grown 60% globally in only 8 years, penetrating the wallet of over 200 million consumers, even as the overall market declines. Sedans and sports cars are quickly being forgotten as we shift to this mediocre conglomeration of the big and small, mid-size. But why? Perhaps from a sense of adventurism. Younger buyers are starting to enter the market, seeking an escape from the nihilistic reality they live as 9-to-5 desk drones. Brands use mass marketing tools to convince them the SUV will free you from the battery farm of consumerism and reunite you with nature. But it's a white lie. The majority of these mall crawlers will never see a speck of dirt and are barely capable of overcoming that gnarly pothole at the end of grandma's driveway. Displacement has found its replacement in the form of hybrid technology, sacrificing power for fuel efficiency and leaving you with a lifeless lump of metal, pushing out fewer horses than a stud farm. Pathetic. Besides, millennials don't have time to go on adventures anyway. They're too busy investing in Bitcoin and posting memes about depression over on Reddit. Take this mess of an SUV, for example. If the creature from Alien slept with a Pontiac Aztek, 9 months later this would be the result. Mitsubishi named it after one of their old sports car models, the Eclipse, to trick younger buyers into believing it still has that same sporty soul underneath the mutated exterior. It's another lie. The bloated hood hides a weak 152 horsepower engine, giving it a power-to-weight ratio worse than a geriatric scooter. It doesn't matter anyway. The power is lost in a feeble, continuously variable transmission. It's designed to make the car shift smoother, but actually makes it feel like you're driving a retired bumper car from that Chuck E. Cheese on the shady side of town. The only thing emotional about this driving experience is annoyance at the loud radiator fans. If you're the type of person who thinks life is about going from A to B, this car might work just fine. But like most SUVs, it's an unathletic mom-mobile dressed up in black plastic cladding, almost comparable to an Instagram model using Photoshop to hide their true form. In this age of online sensationalism, that false reality sells, until we no longer accept its falsehood, or no longer care. The few outliers to this sad trope are niche cars designed to pacify the enthusiast community, which will never reach the same levels of popularity. So if the spirit of exploration hasn't been driving this change, what has? It certainly isn't a growing need for utility. Statistics tell us the US birth rate is at a 35-year low, and more Americans than ever are choosing to live alone. These days, the standard SUV doesn't even have third-row seating, meaning it fits the same number of passengers as your average sedan does. So what's even the point? Safety. The new generations are less concerned with living on the edge and more concerned with avoiding that 6-digit hospital bill. The Mitsubishi I shit on earlier, it's got a 5-star safety rating from the NHTSA, as have many other cars in its class. It's a matter of chassis structure and inertia. The bigger car always wins in an accident, proving after all these years that size does in fact matter. Sedans are less visible out on the road and leave less protection between you and the rushing concrete, making drivers more exposed and insecure. An SUV is 50% more likely to protect passengers from a serious injury in case of a crash. But safety can't be the top priority of every buyer out there. This is the same generation that ate Tide Pods for breakfast after all. So the last vestige of logic that purports to explain this mess lies deep within. We don't need more space in our cars, but maybe we want it. Rather than falling to more reasonable justifications, millennials might be turning to the SUV as a way to inflate their own sense of self. If this is the answer, it suggests the average consumer is blind, believing bigger is unequivocally better, that more car means more presence, means more value, far beyond the simple safety advantages. It's a status symbol. As the public becomes increasingly frustrated with the lack of control in their menial lives, they turn more to the things they can control. Traffic. If you take up more space on the road, you have more power to push the little people around, bulldozing your way through rush hour in a brodozer. This explanation is harsh, yet studies suggest aggressive driving in the US is much more common than you may think. But I don't buy it. You can't pin this entire market shift on the ignorance and ego of the average consumer, nor on their desire for safety. It seems far more likely that something bigger is brewing, deep within the walls of corporate America. You see, SUVs are more expensive than sedans. The average transaction cost is between 39% and 51% higher than a comparable sedan purchase would be. Yet, they're not much more expensive to produce. Taller, yes, but the cost of the extra raw material is negligible. And this means only one thing: bigger profit margins to pad the wallets of car manufacturers. Advertising and mass media could be used as a tool to overrepresent the popularity of these models in the mind of the consumer, preemptively driving industry trends from within. It's not entirely unethical, it's just business. Sound like the thinly veiled pretext for a massive conspiracy? It is, but that doesn't mean it should be written off immediately. So what's the ultimate answer to all of this? Is our transition to bigger modes of transport the result of growing insecurity, egotistical consumers, exaggerated sensationalism, or just pure universal randomness? We may never know. The market pendulum of supply and demand will always be swinging from one extreme to the other, reacting to unseen forces in the industry. Whether you choose to follow the trend is entirely up to you. Thanks for watching.